Hi kids, welcome to a new weekly science lab video. We're moving on. Let's talk about two closely related simple machines, the inclined plane and the wedge. The inclined plane is just what it says, a flat surface set on a certain angle to another surface so that one end is higher than the other. Inclined planes allow loads to slide up to a higher level instead of being lifted, enabling work to be done with a smaller force spread over a longer distance, thus overcoming the vertical resistance of the weight of the object. When an object is pushed on an inclined plane, the direction of the resulting force is obliged to change, as some of the applied force is being exerted against the inclined plane itself. It therefore exerts a perpendicular force against the object due to Newton's third law of motion or law of action-reaction. If you want to know more about this law, check out the video I am linking in the description box. Since the applied work must be equal to the resultant work, according to the principle of conservation of energy, the smaller the angle of the inclined plane, the less tilted it is, the more weight can be lifted with the same applied force, but in exchange, the distance to be covered will be greater. An inclined plane can be recognized as the simple machine used on ramps and slides. The wedge can be actually regarded as a pair of inclined planes placed back to back. The major difference is that in most applications the wedge moves, whereas the traditional inclined plane remains stationary. The basic idea behind a wedge is that as it is forced into an object, it exerts forces outwards, splitting the object. It can be also used to push two objects apart. The wedge transforms the applied force into two opposite diverging resultant forces perpendicular to the applied force. A smaller force applied to the back of the wedge is converted to a greater force in the small area at the tip of the wedge. The angle of the wedge determines the ratio, the proportion, between the applied force and the resultant force in a similar way to that of the inclined plane. Thus, the smaller the angle of the tip of the wedge, the sharper the wedge is, the greater the resultant force compared to the applied force. But in exchange, the wedge must cover a greater distance into the object to be split. This is the case of axes, knives, razors, and any cutting faces as well as nails. The front of a boat, called the bow, also behaves as a wedge, forcing the water to either side of the boat. Now let's put it to test. Roll up your sleeves, for it is experiment time. This time I propose a very simple activity. Just compare two of each. Two inclined planes and two wedges. So you can test in pairs how different tilt in the inclined planes and different sharpness in the wedges might make work more or less easier. I truly hope you enjoy this activity. See you!